3 days passed. 3 days without a job. 3 days of eating cheap noodles and feeling sorry for himself. Jiwoo sat in his small apartment and looked at job listings on his tablet. Every job looked terrible. Dishwasher, stockroom worker, data entry clerk. Nothing interesting. Nothing that made him want to try. The worst part was the rejection emails. He had applied to 15 jobs. 3 companies already said no. They all said the same thing in different ways. They did not want someone who got fired for breaking rules. They did not care that he saved a life. They only cared that he did not follow procedures. Taeyang came out of his bedroom. His hair was wet from the shower. He was Jiwoo's roommate and one of his only friends. "Any luck?" Taeyang asked. He poured himself coffee from their small kitchen. "No," Jiwoo said. He did not look up from his tablet. 3 more rejection emails. Apparently saving lives makes you unemployable. Who knew? "The world is broken," Taeyang said. He shook his head. "You saved an alien and they treat you like a criminal." "Not a criminal," Jiwoo said. "Just unreliable, dangerous, someone who does not follow the rules." He closed his tablet hard. "I am going for a walk." Outside, the spaceport plaza looked different during the day. The colored lights were turned off. Everything looked gray and normal. Jiwoo walked with no destination in mind. He just wanted to move, to think, to figure out what to do with his life now. Spaceships came and went overhead. Each one carried people to amazing places. Each one represented opportunities and adventures that were not his. He was stuck here, unemployed, unwanted, a failure. His phone made a sound. A new message. The sender was unknown. Jiwoo almost deleted it. It was probably spam. But something made him open it. The message was short. "Jiwoo, Medical Center, Ward 7, Room 403, come alone." V? Who was V? Jiwoo stared at the message. It could be spam. It could be a joke. It could be his old boss trying to trick him into something. Or it could be the Thexian, the alien he saved, Velxus. He looked at the message for a long time. Then he started walking toward the medical center. The medical center smelled strange, like chemicals and alien bodies mixed together. It made Jiwoo's eyes water. Ward 7 was for non-human patients. The nurses at the front desk did not even look at him when he walked past. They were too busy with their work. Room 403's door was dark. Privacy mode was on. Nobody could see inside. Jiwoo raised his hand to knock. He waited. Then he knocked. "Come in," a voice said. It sounded like music and bells mixed together. Even through the translation device, it sounded beautiful and strange. Jiwoo opened the door and stepped inside. The room was darker than normal human rooms. The lights were set for Thexian eyes, not human eyes. The alien sat in a special chair that held its crystal body carefully. Its body still had some crack lines, but they looked like silver threads now. Almost pretty. All 3 of its eyes looked at Jiwoo at once. "You came," the alien said. "I was not sure you would." Jiwoo tried to smile. "Your message was mysterious. I was curious." "How are you feeling?" "Alive," the alien said. "The doctors told me I would be dead without you. I had something wrong with my internal circulation system. I had maybe 2 minutes left when you helped me." The alien pointed at a chair made for humans. "Please sit." "We need to talk." Jiwoo sat down. This felt strange. 3 days ago he was serving food. Now he was sitting with an alien diplomat worth more money than his entire neighborhood. "I am called Velxus," the alien said. "I am an ambassador for my people. I learned what happened after I collapsed. 17 beings were in that restaurant. 17 people who could have helped. Only you moved. Only you acted." "I just did what felt right," Jiwoo said. "No," Velxus said. The word was sharp. "You did what no one else would do. And I learned that it cost you your job, your future." "I am sorry," Jiwoo shrugged. "Not your fault. My boss was worried about rules and lawsuits." "Yes, I heard about that too." Velxus made a sound like wind chimes. "Very disappointing. Tell me, what do you know about Thexian culture?" The question surprised Jiwoo. "Not much. You are from a rich planet. Advanced technology. You are part of the Galactic Council. That is all I know. We also have a concept called life debt," Velxus said. Its eyes seemed to shine brighter. "When someone saves a Thexian's life, that Thexian must repay the debt. It is not optional. It is not negotiable. It is law and culture and honor altogether." Jiwoo felt nervous suddenly. "I did not save you for payment." "I know," Velxus said. That makes the debt even more important. I am not just any Thexian, Jiwoo. I am Ambassador Velxus. I sit on the Galactic Council. I represent my entire species in matters of law and trade. When you saved my life, you created a debt that goes very high in galactic society. The room felt smaller. Jiwoo swallowed hard. What does that mean? It means I must repay you, Velxus said. In 3 days, the Galactic Council will meet for the annual First Contact Symposium. Representatives from 300 civilizations will attend. And you will be there as my personal guest. Jiwoo's mouth fell open. What, me? I am nobody. I am just a fired waiter with no future. You are the human who helped when everyone else was afraid, Velxus said. That is worth more than any degree or title. The alien held out a small crystal device. It glowed with soft light. This contains your credentials and travel information. The symposium starts in 72 hours. You should prepare. Jiwoo took the device. It felt warm in his hand. It pulsed like a heartbeat. What if I say no? Then I will find another way to repay my debt, Velxus said. But this way you get to see the galaxy. You get to be more than what your world tried to make you. You get to understand that sometimes doing the right thing does matter, even when it seems like it does not. Jiwoo left the medical center in a daze. The crystal device sat heavy in his pocket. It made his jacket glow a little. Around him, the spaceport continued as normal. Ships came and went. People and aliens walked past. But everything felt different now. Each spaceship looked like a possibility. Each represented a choice. A future that was not about cheap noodles and rejection emails. A future that was bigger than he ever imagined. He pulled out his phone and called Taeyang. Remember when you said the world was broken? Jiwoo asked when his friend answered. Yeah, why? I think I might get a chance to help fix it. Not just our world. All of them. There was silence on the phone. Then Taeyang laughed. Are you serious? I do not know, Jiwoo said honestly. He looked up at the ships flying overhead. But I think I am about to find out. That night, Jiwoo could not sleep. He lay in his bed and held the crystal device. It glowed softly in the dark. He thought about his life. The failed business. The terrible job at the restaurant. Getting fired for doing the right thing. All of it had led to this moment. 3 days ago, he was nobody. Just another human struggling to survive. Now he was holding a ticket to the biggest gathering in the galaxy. An invitation from an alien ambassador. A chance to see things most humans never saw. Part of him wanted to say no. To stay here where things were familiar and safe. To find another restaurant job and forget this ever happened. But a bigger part of him, the part that dropped to his knees to help a dying stranger, wanted to say yes. He looked at the ceiling of his small bedroom. Why not? He whispered to the darkness. What do I have to lose? The crystal device pulsed in his hand like it was answering him, like it was saying that sometimes the biggest risks led to the biggest rewards, like it was telling him that his life was about to change in ways he could not imagine. Jiwoo closed his eyes and smiled. For the first time in 3 days, he felt hope. Real hope. Not the fake hope of job applications and rejection emails, but the real hope of new possibilities. In 72 hours, he would leave Earth for the first time. He would step onto a space station and meet beings from 300 different worlds. He would be Jiwoo, personal guest of Ambassador Velxus. Not Jiwoo the failed businessman. Not Jiwoo the fired waiter. Just Jiwoo, the human who helped when no one else would. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was more than enough. Maybe that was everything. The lights in the restaurant changed colors every few seconds. Red, then blue, then green. Jiwoo watched them while he cleaned another table. He was tired. Very tired. For 6 months he had worked at this restaurant called Celestial Bites. It was not a good job, but he needed the money. Jiwoo was 23 years old. Before this job, he tried to start his own business. It failed. He lost everything. Now he served food to aliens who visited Earth, rich aliens, important aliens. Aliens who never looked at him or said thank you. The restaurant was inside a big building called the Orbital Plaza. This was where spaceships came and went. Aliens from many planets stopped here when they visited Earth. Some came for business. Some came as tourists. All of them had money. Tonight was like every other night. A group of bug-like aliens sat at one table. They were called Velkari. They talked loudly about trade deals and money. At another table, 2 aliens with many arms took pictures with small flying cameras. These were no mean tourists. They took pictures of everything. In the corner sat one alien alone. This alien looked like it was made of glass or crystal. Its body was see-through and sparkled under the lights. It had 3 eyes. This was a Thexian. Jiwoo had learned the names of different alien species during his training. The Thexian drank something from a tall glass. It sat very still and quiet. Jiwoo carried 4 plates of food on his arms. He had practiced this many times. It was not easy, but he could do it now. He walked to the Valkyrie table and put down their food. They did not look up. They did not stop talking. They acted like Jiwoo was not there. He was used to this. He turned to go back to the kitchen. That was when he heard the crash. The sound was loud. Glass breaking. Something heavy falling. Jiwoo spun around fast. The Thexian alien was on the floor. Its crystal body had broken in many places. Lines like cracks in ice covered its skin. Purple blood came out from the cracks. The blood made a hissing sound when it touched the metal floor. Everything stopped. All the aliens in the restaurant froze. The Valkyrie stopped talking. The No-Means stopped taking pictures. Their little flying cameras circled around the fallen Thexian like birds around food. Everyone stared, but nobody moved. Jiwoo's boss, Hyunwoo, grabbed his arm hard. Hyunwoo was a thin man with angry eyes. He was always worried about rules and problems. "Do not touch anything," Hyunwoo said in a quiet, hard voice. "Medical help is coming. Do not move. Do not touch." But Jiwoo had seen that color before. Purple blood from a Thexian. He remembered it from his short time working at the medical center last year. That job only lasted 2 weeks, but he learned some things. Purple blood that dark meant the alien was dying. Fast. Maybe 2 or 3 minutes before it was too late. Jiwoo pulled his arm away from Hyunwoo. He dropped to his knees next to the Thexian. The alien's body felt warm and smooth like glass that had been in the sun. Jiwoo pressed his hands on the crystal skin. He remembered where the important blood tubes were in a Thexian body. He pressed hard on those spots. "Are you crazy?" Hyunwoo shouted. His face turned red. "You will make everything worse. We will get sued. Stop." The purple blood slowed down. It stopped coming out so fast. The Thexian's 3 eyes opened a little bit. They looked at Jiwoo's face. A small metal device on the alien's neck made sounds. Then it spoke in a voice that sounded like music. "You... help," the voice said. It was very quiet and weak. "Stay still," Jiwoo said. He kept his hands pressed on the crystal skin. "Help is coming. Just stay still." His hands were shaking. His heart beat very fast. But he did not move his hands. He kept pressure on the wounds. 4 minutes later, the medical team arrived. They wore white suits that covered their whole bodies. They had special equipment. They worked fast and smooth like they had done this many times. They put the Thexian on a floating bed that hovered in the air. The bed moved toward the door. One of the medical workers stopped near Jiwoo. "Good job," the worker said through his helmet. "You probably saved its life." Then he followed the others out. Jiwoo stood up. His hands were covered in purple blood. It was starting to dry and turn darker. He looked at his hands and felt strange. Happy and scared at the same time. Then he looked at Hyunwoo. His boss's face had changed color 3 times. First white like paper, then red like fire. Now it was turning purple like the alien blood on the floor. "My office," Hyunwoo said. His voice was very quiet. Too quiet. Right now. The office was small and cold. It smelled like old air and sadness. Hyunwoo sat behind his desk. He put his fingers together and stared at Jiwoo. His face looked hard like stone. "Do you know what you did?" Hyunwoo asked. Each word came out slow and cold. Jiwoo stood in front of the desk. The purple blood on his hands was dry now. It felt sticky and wrong. "I saved someone's life," he said. "You broke the rules," Hyunwoo said. He leaned forward. "You touched a customer without permission. You got involved before the proper authorities came. Do you know how many rules you broke? Do you know how much trouble you made?" "The alien was dying," Jiwoo said. His voice got louder. "I had to do something." "No, that was not your job." Hyunwoo's voice got louder too. "We have insurance for this. We have procedures. You are a waiter. You are not a doctor. You are not a hero. You do not make these decisions." Jiwoo felt his hands close into fists. "So I should have just watched?" "Let it die?" "Yes," Hyunwoo said. Just one word, but it felt heavy like a rock. "Yes, because now when the alien's family sues us for trauma or wrong treatment or anything else, we have no defense. You acted alone. You created a huge problem. Nobody spoke for a moment. The office was very quiet. Hyunwoo opened a drawer and took out a paper. You are fired. Right now. Security will walk you out. Your final payment will come in 2 days. We will take out money for the damages you caused. Damages? Jiwoo asked. Cleaning? Lawyers? Public relations consultants? It costs money. Hyunwoo pushed the paper across the desk. Sign here. Jiwoo looked at the paper. He thought about arguing. He thought about fighting. But what was the point? He picked up the pen and signed his name. 20 minutes later, Jiwoo stood outside in the big plaza. He held a small box with his things from work. A coffee cup. A spare uniform. Nothing important. The colored lights that had seemed pretty before now looked ugly and cold. Spaceships flew overhead, going to places he would never see. His phone buzzed. A message from Taeyang, his roommate. Saw the news. You okay, news? Jiwoo opened his phone and found the local news feed. There it was, trending in the top posts. Video from the no-mean tourists flying cameras. It showed everything. The Thexian falling. Jiwoo running to help. The blood on his hands. The medical team saying he did good. The comments under the video were a war. Half the people called him a hero. Half called him stupid for risking himself. Nobody mentioned that he got fired for helping. Jiwoo put his phone away and started walking. He had enough money saved for maybe 2 months of rent. After that, he would be homeless. Or he would have to go back to his parents and admit he failed. Again. The plaza was full of people and aliens. Everyone was going somewhere. Everyone had a purpose. Jiwoo picked a random direction and walked. His box got heavier with each step. Somewhere behind him in the medical center, a Thexian named Velxus was breathing easier. Its crystal body was healing. The cracks were closing. It did not know yet about the human waiter who saved its life. It did not know what that waiter had lost to do the right thing. The ship that came to get Jiwoo was not what he expected. He thought it would be fancy and clean. Instead, it was old and dirty. The pilot was a Velkari named Korash. Korash complained about everything during the 3-hour trip. Fuel prices, the council's cheap payment, the traffic in space. You are the human who saved Ambassador Velxus? Korash asked. Its bug-like mouth clicked when it talked. Yes, Jiwoo said. He looked out the window at Earth getting smaller behind them. This was his first time in space. His first time leaving his planet. It felt scary and exciting at the same time. You do not look special, Korash said. The ship turned suddenly and Jiwoo's stomach felt strange. But the Thexians love their honor and debt. Makes them good allies but bad at poker. Then Jiwoo saw the station. Council Station Alpha floated in space like a giant jewel. It was not one building, but many. Hundreds of buildings connected by tubes and bridges. Each part looked different. Crystal towers from the Thexians. Curved organic shapes from the no-mean. Hard geometric blocks from the Velkari. 300 civilizations had built this together over 200 years. Beautiful, right? Korash said. Its voice sounded softer now. More respectful. Symbol of cooperation and peace. Also the most dangerous place in the galaxy if you break the rules. Dangerous how? Jiwoo asked. Insult the wrong ambassador, stand in the wrong spot, breathe wrong near certain species. Any of it can start a war. Korash's eyes glinted. But you will be fine. Thexian protection is like wearing armor and a sign that says do not touch. Docking took an hour. Ships of every size and shape came and went. Some looked like normal ships. Others looked like living things. Others looked like nothing Jiwoo could describe. The traffic made no sense to human eyes. Finally, they docked. Korash pointed at the exit. End of the line, human. Ambassador Velxus should be waiting. Try not to start any incidents. I will try, Jiwoo said. He grabbed his small bag. Hey, Korash called out. What you did was brave. Stupid maybe, but brave. The galaxy needs more stupid, brave people. The welcome hall was chaos. Hundreds of beings moved through the huge space. Each one was in its own bubble of air or wearing a special suit. Some did not need either. They just existed in the shared space. Languages Jiwoo did not know mixed with electronic translation sounds. It was loud and confusing and amazing. Velxus stood in the center of the hall. Its crystal body was fully healed now. The crack lines had turned into silver threads that made it look more beautiful. It saw Jiwoo immediately and moved toward him like flowing water. You came, Velxus said. Even through the translator, Jiwoo heard relief in its voice. I worried you might change your mind. I almost did, Jiwoo admitted. He looked around at all the aliens, about 50 times during the flight. This is overwhelming. Yes, Velxus agreed. It never stops being overwhelming. Come, I will show you to your room. Then we must prepare you for tonight's opening ceremony. Jiwoo's room was bigger and nicer than his entire apartment on Earth. It had a bed that adjusted to fit human bodies, a machine that made Earth food, a huge window that showed the galaxy slowly spinning outside the station's shields. He stood at that window for a long time. 5 days ago, he was serving food to aliens. Now he was on a space station, guest of an ambassador about to attend a meeting of 300 civilizations. It did not feel real. His phone buzzed. A message from Velxus. Meet me in conference room 7 beta in 1 hour. Wear the formal clothes in your closet. We need to prepare you. Jiwoo opened the closet. Inside was a suit unlike anything he had ever seen. It looked human in shape but was made from material that changed colors in the light. It moved like liquid. It adjusted to fit his body perfectly. A small card was pinned to it. Thexian formal wear. Adapted for humans. High honor to receive. Try not to spill anything on it. Jiwoo smiled despite his nervousness. Conference room 7 beta was small. Just a round table and some chairs. Velxus sat at the table. Next to the ambassador was a human woman about Jiwoo's age. She looked strong and smart. Jiwoo, this is Yoonji, Velxus said. She helps humans who attend council functions. She will prepare you for tonight. Yoonji stood and shook Jiwoo's hand. Her grip was strong. So you are the famous waiter. Nice to meet you. You are human, Jiwoo said, surprised. What are you doing here? Long story. Rescue mission, alien whiskey, mating ritual misunderstanding. Been here 4 years now. She pointed at a chair. Sit. We have lots to cover and not much time. What happened next was the hardest lesson of Jiwoo's life. Yoonji taught him basic rules. Which species to bow to. Which ones never to touch. Which ones thought eye contact was rude. Which ones thought it was respectful. What gestures meant insults. What gestures meant hello. Hundreds of rules that made his head hurt. Most important thing, Yoonji said at the end. You have Thexian protection. That means most species will forgive your mistakes. But your actions reflect on Ambassador Velxus. So try not to do anything too stupid. That seems to be what I do best, Jiwoo muttered. Maybe, Velxus said quietly. But that quality served you well so far. Tonight, just watch. Learn, observe. Tomorrow we will discuss what comes next. What does come next? Jiwoo asked. Velxus's 3 eyes sparkled. That depends on how tonight goes. The Grand Assembly Hall was impossible to describe. The ceiling showed a real-time map of space with trade routes drawn in light. The floor was clear and showed the galaxy spinning beneath their feet. And everywhere were aliens. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Jiwoo stayed close to Velxus. He tried not to stare but failed completely. There were beings made of light. Beings made of gas. Beings that looked like walking crystals. Beings that looked like nightmares. Each wore formal clothes from their culture. It was a riot of color and shape and impossibility. Overwhelming? Velxus asked quietly. Very much yes, Jiwoo said. Good. Remember this feeling. This is what your species misses by staying on your planet. This is what happens when you are not afraid of the unknown. A sound rang through the hall, pure and clear like a bell. All conversation stopped. All the beings moved to their spots. The ceremony was starting. Jiwoo stood next to Velxus and watched as representatives from species he never heard of made speeches. They talked about cooperation and trade agreements. They performed rituals that were beautiful or strange or both. Some speeches were boring. Some were fascinating. All of them were in languages that needed translation. Through it all, Jiwoo noticed other beings looking at him. Not angry looks, curious looks. Humans at the symposium were rare. Humans standing next to the Thexian ambassador who almost died on Earth were even rarer. He was interesting to them, a story, a curiosity. The ceremony lasted 3 hours. When it finally ended, Velxus led Jiwoo out of the main hall. They walked through quieter corridors. Other beings passed them and nodded at Velxus with respect. Some looked at Jiwoo with interest. That was amazing, Jiwoo said. I have never seen anything like it. That was just the opening ceremony, Velxus said. Tomorrow is more important. Tomorrow we have something special planned. What? Jiwoo asked. You will see, Velxus said. The ambassador's voice sounded mysterious and a little amused. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be a big day. Back in his room, Jiwoo stood at the window again. He looked out at the stars and the ships and the impossible station around him. He thought about his old life. The failed business. The restaurant job. Getting fired. All of it felt far away now. Like it happened to someone else. His phone buzzed. A message from Taiyang. How is space? Jiwoo thought about how to answer. How to describe the station, the aliens, the ceremony, all of it. Finally, he typed, different. Very different. I will tell you everything when I get back. If he got back. If this was not all a dream. If his life really had changed this much in less than a week. He looked at his reflection in the window. The fancy Thexian suit. The room that was bigger than his apartment. The view of the galaxy outside. Who was he now? Not the fired waiter. Not the failed businessman. Someone new. Someone he did not quite recognize yet. Tomorrow, Velxus said, would be important. Tomorrow, something special was planned. Jiwoo did not know what that meant. But after everything that had happened, he was ready for anything. Or at least he hoped he was ready. He climbed into the bed that adjusted to fit him perfectly. He closed his eyes. And for the first time since getting fired, he slept without worry or fear. He slept with hope instead. Hope for tomorrow. Hope for whatever came next. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The morning after the opening ceremony, Jiwoo woke up confused about where he was. Then he remembered. Space station. Alien ambassador. 300 civilizations. It was all real. After breakfast from the food machine, his phone buzzed. A message from Velxus. Come to conference room 7 beta immediately. Very important. Jiwoo got dressed quickly and went to the conference room. When he opened the door, he saw Velxus was not alone. 3 other aliens sat at the table, a no-mean with tentacles that glowed, a Velkari in military armor, and something that looked like a cloud of stars held inside a force field. Jiwoo, Velxus said formally. These are Admiral Thanex of the Velkari Defense Fleet, Scholar Rimmel of the No-Mean Collective, and Cloud Mind Whisper Thought of the Ethereal Concordat. Together with me, we form the Reform Council. Jiwoo bowed, trying to remember Yunji's lessons. It is an honor. The Velkari's mouth clicked. The honor is ours, young human. Your actions have impressed many across the council. The no-means voice sounded like wind in trees. The video from the restaurant has been shared through diplomatic channels. Quite remarkable. The cloud being spoke directly into Jiwoo's mind. No sound, just words appearing in his thoughts. You acted without thinking of yourself. Without calculating the cost. Such purity is rare. Jiwoo felt uncomfortable. I just did what felt right. Anyone would have done the same. But they did not, Velxus said quietly. That is the point. 17 beings watched me dying. Only you moved. Only you risked yourself. That is why we wanted to meet you. I do not understand, Jiwoo said. Scholar Rimmel waved a tentacle. Suddenly a hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed charts and numbers and data that Jiwoo did not understand. This is research on altruistic intervention rates across 300 species, Rimmel explained. When a being sees someone from another species in danger, we measure how often they help, how fast they respond, how much risk they accept. The hologram changed to show percentages. 3%, 7%, 12%. Each number had a species name next to it. These are intervention rates, Admiral Thanex said. The percentage of individuals from each species who will actively help an alien in distress. Without being ordered, without expecting reward. Most species average between 5 and 15%, Velxus continued. No-mean are highest at 18%. Velkari are around 12%. My people, the Thexians, are about 9%. Jiwoo stared at the numbers. That is sad. It is reality, Rimmel said. Self-preservation is powerful. Most beings will not risk themselves for a stranger, especially an alien stranger who might be dangerous or carry disease or cause legal problems. But here is what is interesting, Velxus said, its eyes focused on Jiwoo. We do not have much data on humans yet. Your species is new to the galactic community. Most humans have never met aliens. So when incidents happen, we watch. We measure. We study. The hologram changed again. It showed hundreds of incident reports. Each one showed a human encountering an alien in trouble. Each one showed how the human responded. A number blinked in the corner. 47%. Jiwoo could not breathe. That cannot be right. We thought the same, Admiral Thanex said. We checked 3 times. We corrected for every variable we could think of. The number stayed the same. When humans see an alien in distress, they help at nearly 5 times the galactic average. Your species is statistically abnormal, Whisper Thought said in his mind. Dangerously compassionate. Irrationally helpful. You risk yourselves for strangers in ways that make no evolutionary sense. Jiwoo sat down heavily. Why are you telling me this? The 4 aliens looked at each other. They seemed to be communicating in ways Jiwoo could not see or hear. Finally, Velxus spoke. Because the galaxy has a problem, Jiwoo. The council was built on principles of cooperation and mutual benefit, but over centuries it became bureaucratic, stagnant. Species interact through layers of rules and procedures. Individual compassion has been replaced by institutional efficiency. We think this is wrong. Riemel added, a civilization of procedures is not really alive. It is a machine pretending to have a heart. We formed the Reform Council 5 years ago, Admiral Thanak said. Our goal is to remind the galaxy that compassion matters, that individual action matters, that rules should serve people, not the other way around. What do you want from me? Jiwoo asked. I am nobody. A fired waiter with no education and no power. You are proof, Velxus said simply. Proof that compassion transcends species. Proof that doing the right thing matters more than following procedures. Proof that humanity might be exactly what the galaxy needs. We want you to speak, Whisper Thought said in his mind. Tomorrow at the general session. Tell your story. Show the galaxy what happened when you chose compassion over protocol. Remind them what they forgot. Jiwoo's mouth went dry. Speak to 300 civilizations? I cannot. I do not know how. You can, Velxus said firmly, because you already did the hard part. You already risked everything for a stranger. Giving a speech is nothing compared to that. Jiwoo walked back to his room in a daze. His head spun with everything he had learned. Humans helped aliens 5 times more than other species. The galaxy had forgotten compassion. The Reform Council wanted him to give a speech to 300 civilizations. It was too much. Too big, too impossible. His phone buzzed. A message from Yunji. Heard about tomorrow. Do not panic. You will be fine. Also, do not panic. He wanted to laugh but could not. How could he not panic? He was just a waiter. Just a human who happened to be in the right place at the right time. What did he know about speeches and diplomacy and changing galaxies? He stood at his window and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere was his apartment, his roommate, his old life. The life where he was nobody special. Where the biggest problem was finding a new job. Now he was supposed to speak to the galaxy. Supposed to remind 300 species why compassion mattered. Supposed to be important. He pulled out his phone and messaged Taeyang. Remember when I said I might help fix the broken world? Turns out it is not just our world that is broken. It is all of them. And I am supposed to help somehow. No pressure. Taeyang's reply came fast. You saved an alien's life without thinking. You can handle a speech. And if you cannot, at least you will have a crazy story. Jiwoo smiled a little. If I get home, you will. You are too stubborn to let the universe keep you. That night Jiwoo could not sleep. He lay in bed and thought about everything. The Thexian collapsing, the blood on his hands, his boss firing him, Velxus's invitation, the trip to the station, the opening ceremony, and now this. A speech about compassion to beings from 300 worlds. Why him? Why not someone smart or educated or important? Why a failed businessman who could not even keep a waiter job? But then he thought about the numbers. 47%. Humans helped aliens almost half the time. Not because they were ordered to. Not because they expected rewards. Just because someone needed help. Maybe that was the answer. Maybe being smart or educated or important did not matter. Maybe what mattered was being willing to act when action was needed. Being willing to risk yourself for a stranger. Being willing to care more about life than about procedures. Maybe that was what made humans special. Not technology or culture or achievements. Just simple irrational compassion. The willingness to help even when it cost everything. Jiwoo got out of bed and went to his window. He looked at the galaxy spinning slowly outside. Millions of stars. Billions of beings. 300 civilizations all trying to work together. And tomorrow one human would stand before them and try to explain why compassion mattered. He took a deep breath. Then another. He thought about his hands pressing on crystal skin. About purple blood and 3 weak eyes looking up at him. About a choice made in seconds that changed everything. He could do this. He had to do this, not for himself, not for Earth, but for every being in every civilization who had forgotten that sometimes rules mattered less than life, that sometimes the right thing was not the proper thing, that sometimes compassion was more important than protocol. Tomorrow he would speak. Tomorrow he would try to change the galaxy. Tomorrow he would be what Velxus called him. Proof. Proof that caring about strangers was not weakness. Proof that helping others was not foolish. Proof that being human, truly human, was exactly what the universe needed. No pressure at all. Jiwoo did not sleep that night. How could he? In a few hours he would either inspire 300 civilizations or embarrass himself in front of the entire galaxy. There was no middle option. Early in the morning, Yoonji came to his room with coffee. Real Earth coffee, not the synthesized kind. She looked serious. "You look terrible," she said bluntly. "Thank you," Jiwoo said. He took the coffee gratefully. "That really helps." "I worked on your speech," Yoonji said. She pulled up a hologram from her tablet. "Velxus gave me the outline. I made it so the translators will not explode." "Want to practice?" "Does it matter?" Jiwoo asked. "I am going to freeze up there anyway." "Then you will freeze with good material." She pushed a tablet into his hands. "Read, memorize, you have 4 hours." The speech was simpler than Jiwoo expected. No fancy words, no complicated ideas, just his story. The alien falling, the choice to help, the consequences, the discovery that such choices were rare and needed to be celebrated. He read it 3 times. Yoonji made him practice how to stand, how to speak, how to pace himself. By the 3rd hour, he almost believed he could do this. Almost. Then Velxus arrived. "How are you feeling?" the ambassador asked. "Terrified," Jiwoo said honestly. "Sick. Wondering what I did wrong in life to end up here." Velxus made its wind chime laugh. "Good. That means you understand how important this is. Come, it is time." The Grand Assembly Hall was completely full. Every delegation was there. Every seat was taken. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds all gathered to hear speeches about trade agreements and treaties, and all the boring work of galactic government. And then one human waiter, Jiwoo, stood backstage. His heart beat so hard he thought it might break his ribs. His hands shook. The speech Yoonji prepared felt heavy in his memory like stones. "You will be fine," Velxus said quietly beside him. "You keep saying that," Jiwoo whispered. "What if I am not?" "Then you will fail and we will find another way." "But I do not think you will fail. You did not fail when it mattered most," the current speaker finished. Polite applause filled the hall. Then a tall Valkyrie in ceremonial armor stepped forward. Its voice carried through the perfect acoustics of the hall. "Our next speaker is a special guest of Ambassador Velxus of the Thexian Empire. Please welcome Jiwoo of Earth, who will speak about interspecies compassion and individual action." The applause was uncertain, curious. Jiwoo felt Velxus push him gently. Then he was walking onto the stage. Every eye in the galaxy watching him. The podium adjusted to his height automatically. A hologram showed his speech notes. He gripped the edges with white knuckles and looked out at the assembly. 300 civilizations, thousands of beings, all waiting. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The silence stretched. Someone shifted uncomfortably. Jiwoo felt his chance slipping away like water through his fingers. Then he looked at his hands. At the faint stains still on his palms where purple blood had soaked in. At the proof of the choice that brought him here. Forget the prepared speech, he thought. Tell them the truth. 6 days ago, Jiwoo said, surprised his voice did not shake. I was a waiter in a restaurant. Not a good waiter. Not special at all. Just someone trying to survive in a world that did not care much about survival. The assembly leaned forward slightly. He had their attention. Ambassador Velxus collapsed in my restaurant. Internal injury, bleeding, minutes from death. And I had a choice. He paused, remembering. I could follow the rules. Wait for proper authorities. Protect myself and my employer. Or I could help. I helped. It cost me my job. Almost cost me my future. But it saved a life. And that is when I learned something interesting. He looked at the Thexian delegation. Apparently helping a dying stranger is rare. Abnormal. Statistically unusual. A murmur ran through the hall. Jiwoo continued. My species, humans, we help at 5 times the galactic average. Not because we are better. Not because we are special. But because somewhere in our evolution, in our culture, We decided that the stranger bleeding in front of you is your responsibility. The person drowning is your problem. The child crying is your concern." He gripped the podium harder. "I am not here to say humans are superior. We are not. We fight wars. We let people starve. We are a mess." He smiled grimly. "But we help. When we see suffering, we move, we act. We risk ourselves for strangers because that is what being human means." The hall was completely silent now, everyone listening. "The Reform Council wants me to tell you that compassion matters, that individual action matters. That the galaxy has focused so much on rules and procedures that it forgot the basic truth that holds civilizations together." He looked around at the impossible diversity. "But I think you already know that. I think that is why you are here listening to me. So here is my question for you. What would you have done? If you were in that restaurant, would you have helped? Would you have risked yourself for a stranger? Would you have chosen compassion over protocol?" He let the question sit in the air. Because if the answer is no, if the answer is wait for proper authorities, then maybe we need to ask ourselves something. What is the point of all this? He gestured at the hall, the station, the achievement of bringing 300 species together. What is the point of cooperation if we will not cooperate when it matters? What is the point of unity if we will not unite to help a stranger? Jiwoo took a breath. "I am nobody. I am a fired waiter who got lucky. But I am standing here because I made a choice. Not a perfect choice. Not a protocol-approved choice. Just a human choice. To help when helping was needed." He looked at Velxis in the front row, and it changed everything. So that is my message to all of you. Let it change everything for you too. Let compassion matter more than protocol. Let individual action matter more than institutional efficiency. Let yourselves be human even if you are not. He stepped back from the podium. "Thank you for listening." For a moment, nothing happened. The silence was complete and absolute. Then Velxis stood. Its crystalline body caught the light and began the Thexian gesture of respect. A complex movement of limbs and light that meant profound acknowledgement. The Velkari delegation joined, their clicking applause filling the hall. Then the Nomine, their bodies glowing with appreciation. Then the Ethereals, their mental approval washing over everyone like warm rain. One by one, every delegation rose. Every species added their own form of applause, their own gesture of respect. The hall filled with a sound that transcended language and culture, a universal expression of agreement. Jiwoo stood there overwhelmed, as 300 civilizations showed him that maybe compassion was not as rare as the statistics suggested. Maybe it just needed someone to remind them. Later, after everything ended, after countless beings wanted to speak with him, after the exhaustion and excitement faded, Jiwoo found himself back in his quarters. He stood at his window staring at the stars. Velxis appeared without knocking. "You threw away my carefully prepared speech," the ambassador said. "I am sorry. I just do not apologize. It was perfect." Velxis stood beside him at the window. "You spoke truth. Raw, uncomfortable truth. That is worth more than any diplomatic words." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. "What happens now?" Jiwoo asked. "Now? The Reform Council has a new voice, one that reaches across species lines, one that reminds us why we built this station and this council." Velxis's eyes gleamed. "Now you have a choice. Return to Earth in your old life, or stay here, work with us, help shape a galaxy that remembers compassion." Jiwoo thought about his apartment, his failed businesses, his life of barely surviving. Then he thought about the hall, the applause, the feeling of mattering. "If I stay," he said slowly, "what would I do?" "Whatever you want. Cultural liaison, humanitarian coordinator, ambassador of compassion." Velxis made its wind chime laugh. "Or just be yourself. Sometimes that is the most powerful thing anyone can be." 3 months later, Jiwoo sat in the same restaurant where everything started. It looked different now. Cleaner, better lighting. A new manager had taken over after Hyunwoo resigned because of the viral video. Taeyang sat across from him, eyes wide as Jiwoo described his new life. The quarters on Council Station, the meetings with diplomats, the work helping establish rules that put compassion ahead of procedure. "So you are like a space diplomat now?" Taeyang asked. "More like a space waiter who gives speeches sometimes." Jiwoo smiled. "But yes, basically. And they pay you? Enough to live. Enough to make a difference. That is all I need." Taeyang shook his head. "You saved one alien and it changed your whole life." "No," Jiwoo said quietly. I saved one alien and it reminded me that lives can be changed. That choices matter. That compassion, even when it costs everything, is worth it. He looked around the restaurant. He remembered the panic, the blood, the desperate pressing of hands on crystal skin. Besides, he added with a grin, turns out the galaxy needs more humans. Who knew? 5 years passed. The Galactic Council established something called the Compassion Protocol, a new system that valued individual initiative in emergencies. People informally called it the human rule, though Jiwoo always said it should be called the Common Sense Protocol. Intervention rates across all species increased by 11% on average. 17 lives were saved in the first year that statistics said would have been lost under old rules.